talking to book people about books and other stuff.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking to Book People about books and other stuff. This is an introduction to an episode I recorded a few days ago with the incredible Cressida Cowell. So I got to chat to her from her shed in London, her incredible writing shed, and that was a treat in itself because, as you'll see, we got a few insights into the way she works, the place she works, and some of the drawings that litter her working environment. She's been talking to me about the Wizards of One series, which is about to conclude in September, about How to Train Your Dragon, of course, about writing, about lockdown, about reading, and about all her work as the current children's laureate, including her brilliant summer camp for kids, creativity summer camp, and so much more that she's been up to, just generally being a one-woman meteor for children's literacy, literature, reading, writing, and love of books. So without further ado, let me flick across and you'll get to see me having a chat with Cressida just a couple of days ago. So thank you so much for agreeing to have a chat from sort of almost lockdown or part lockdown or whatever we're in now. And it looks like you've got the sun kind of streaming in. Have you been based at home the whole time? Have you managed to sort of be with loved ones throughout all of this bizarre year?
I've been at home the whole time, yeah, in my house in London. I'm here in my house in London, and I'm in the writing shed at the bottom of my garden, which is always, so actually not a lot has changed.
Right, okay, yeah.
I would be in this London, this writing shed at the bottom of my garden for the last 3 months anyway. Yeah. I've been finishing a book, and I obviously normally, and I have really missed this, I would have been going out to festivals and bookshops. Yeah. Like yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Events, and I love that because I love meeting the kids. I love meeting kids and getting that, and I find their questions really inspirational and finding out what they're interested in and what excites them about books, and I find that really helpful. So I've missed that. But yeah, I'll just be here. This is my writing shed, and you can see. Look, I'm just
incredible.
It's quite small.
Yeah.
Loads of books. These are. Yeah.
I'm glad you have book towers. I like book towers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Together, Nick, by magic.
Right. It's just when you want one near the bottom. I mean, that's the only problem.
That's the problem. And they're sort of books. It's a mixture of they're sort of books that inspire me or inspired me when I was little. So I've probably got The Sword and the Stone, The Hobbit.
Oh, wow. Oh yeah.
And then I've got kind of reference books, so Tree Guy, The Invention of Nature. I'm very interested in nature in my books. Yeah. Sagas of the Icelander, so it's a real mixture.
Yeah, well, that's funny seeing the reference guide there. I hadn't thought of that, but I guess that's something that you have to have in your library straight away. Anything where it's I don't know, trees, wildflowers, birds, anything that's going to crop up, even though you're creating your own worlds or worlds based on times past, you must still have to have all that to hand.
Absolutely, and things that I find I generally have now. Where is I have a thesaurus as well down there.
Yeah,
because I'm very interested in language and words, and a complete works of Shakespeare, essential for any written Shakespeare.
And so, as the writing, as being a writer, I mean, you say that the location's not changed. Has it had any effect on your ability to write per se? I mean, I don't know whether you're in the midst of a project. The whole pandemic situation, did it occupy brain space so that it became more difficult for a while, or has it been just like normal?
Well, I'm really lucky because I don't have, and my children are old. I'm not homeschooling. I really feel for somebody who's trying to homeschool 3 young children while doing the job. I mean, that must have been very, very difficult. So that hasn't really, to be honest, really affected me. And in fact, I mean, the one thing that really hasn't, and this is nothing to do with the pandemic, doing some extreme gardening, Nick, which is my climbing on that wall over there. I fell off the wall and broke my rib. That's the thing that I have found most
Oh no.
You know,
It's not the time for extreme gardening.
But then I've also been doing a lot of laureate stuff.
Tell us about some of the things you've been involved with on the laureate side in the last few months then, that you've had time to give some time to, even though you haven't been able to go and see kids.
That's been really important, I think.
Yeah.
With Book Trust, we launched this whole, a Book Trust home time thing.
Yeah.
Where you have all these draw-alongs with
Yeah.
Rob Bedalf. We have all these activities going on so that children can be creative. And I've also been reading a chapter of my How to Train Your Dragon books aloud a day. And I wouldn't normally be allowed to do that. The publishers allowed me to because they gave me permission. It's
been great how people have been flexible about that, so that, because that's needed for the people at home, to give parents a moment and to give kids a chance to enjoy that, isn't it?
Well, also, I mean, I've seen the stats.
Right.
The statistics. I mean, a kid who reads for the joy. I mean, reading for the joy of it is better. Is the most important thing for a child's cognitive development and their later attainment. I mean, there's decades of research to show that, and reading aloud plays a real part in that, and that's why I'm always encouraging parents to read aloud 10 minutes a day beyond the age the kid can read for themselves, because often kids' intelligence is way better than their reading ability.
Yeah.
Even if they don't have, I mean, particularly if they have dyslexia or something like that.
Yeah.
But and so they can be very put off. So if they're listening to a book read by their parents, it's up to their intelligence, whereas what read is sometimes not up to. So you need to get out of their heads that books are less fun than telly.
The statistic I always remember is that if you do that, it then increases the likelihood that a child will read independently by themselves for pleasure from something like 30% to 75%. I mean, it's a huge, just by reading regularly, it's incredible.
It's incredible, and it's all about the joy of it, and then they're listening to it with close to their parent. And I write all my books, even though Wizards of Once, this is these are what I've been working on my Training Dragon books. All for older readers, but I write them to be read aloud for that reason. And I deliberately set out to make the dads cry.
Yeah.
Because if you're reading a book with your mum or your dad and it makes the parent cry, it sends this really powerful message that books have the power to make your dad cry or your mum engage the adult as well. Yeah. And so the kid, can see, they're enjoying it together, and I think that's the best experience. So very young, the kid is getting the message that books are this powerful, magical thing.
And what about also through the laureateship, you've been doing working on this summer camp, the creativity summer camp, which is up and running.
And it's free. One of the big things about my laureateship is reading is magic, and magic is for everyone.
Yeah.
That's so important. And one of my worries, and I'm sure everybody's worries, is that the summer holidays, there's always a gap in attainment for children, but it's going to be particularly strong this year, particularly with the 3 months of lockdown. And for kids who don't have the same advantage, that's a real worry for me. So the free summer camp, free for everybody, and it's all about creativity.
Yeah.
And we've got some amazing authors and poets and illustrators just out of this world, So Monday we had Monday was Tom Gates, author Liz Peachaw. We've had Chris Riddell. Today we've got Owen Colfer, Frank Cottrell Boyce. It's amazing. Trust me. And Thursday, yesterday was Read Aloud Day, and we had laureates from all around the world reading aloud. So we had the US laureate, the Irish laureate, and it's all free. All the videos are up on booktrust.org.uk. So
I have this, which is very exciting, which you sent out. We sent out. You've got a real live shiny one. I've got the early one, which is exciting in a different way.
Look at I Love a Little.
That is in,
Sweeties, you see.
yeah, exactly. I love that shine.
These books may look just look like, they're exciting, but they're about, the environment, looking after the environment, and what makes a great leader, and empathy, and you can have very serious messages.
Yeah.
Joyful package.
Well, exactly. I mean, and in both in this series and in How to Train Your Dragon, you're always very keen to focus on those sort of inner turmoils of the characters in a very kind of, just like you would when you're reading an adult novel.
Because children are very, very smart, and I think you're right. It does appeal to the adults as well, because all of these questions are interesting to adults as well. But I think children are already starting to work out, particularly when they get to 8 or 9, they're starting to work out, what is our responsibility to the natural world?
Yeah.
What kind of leaders do we deserve? They're already thinking about those kind of things. And of course, the themes that children, bullying, is a big theme in How to Train Your Dragon, also in Wizards of Once, feeling a bit different, not fitting in, trying to work out all of those things are things that children are having to deal with. And of course, these fantasy books, they're not set in a school nowadays, but they still deal with the issues that children are wrestling with. And How to Train Your Dragon really could be how to train your child, or how to train yourself. because it was also me trying to work out how to be a parent, at the same time as Hiccup trying to work out what kind of a person he wanted to be, because he was very different from Stoic. So all of those things are being worked out in the course of the book, because also the parent reading the book with the kid is working out what kind of a parent they want to be.
This is the final, Never and Forever is the final part of the Wizard of Once quartet, right? I mean, that is it. You set out for this to be a quartet at the beginning. I think that's not been a secret in this.
I set out to be a trilogy, but I couldn't get in Perdita. It was just a kind of technical thing. I had to get in Perdita in the school. I thought I did pretty well, though, sticking to the...
Well, it's not 12. I have found it very difficult, and I'm going to confess something. Doing the last illustrations right here. Oh, really?
I cried for about, while I was doing them, for about 3 days, because you get very attached to the characters and the world, and even though I'm pretty cross now because
you want to stay in that world.
Really annoying. You have to follow the internal beat of the story.
So it always amazes me when I'm talking to authors about this kind of part of the craft, how it seems that a piece of work is in control more than the author sometimes. Like it could be, same when we're talking about characters, different authors seem to have a different view on this, but how characters are not necessarily being steered all the time. Sometimes they do things almost, or they go in directions that surprises the person who's creating them. And the same with the fact that you're saying, well, this just has to be it, the beating heart of this story. It has to be this long. It can't be anything different, which is, I think I don't know. I think it's a difficult thing to imagine for anyone who hasn't sat down and tried to create a long piece of work, that's the case.
Yes. I mean, of course, you can do anything. So you can kind of force yourself on the story and make it very, but I think that then it's less interesting.
Right.
There has to be a sort of organic side to it, and then that's where that's where it's really coming to life, because often also it's about the human brain, really. The unconscious is far cleverer than the conscious mind.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I can't remember the percentages of the conscious, what we're using in our conscious.
Yeah.
So you sort of have to be, you have to be receptive to your own, or you have to allow yourself, your unconscious to guide you, really.
But when you're sort of looking back, I mean, can you almost tell that when you're the writer, when you're writing, does it give you a great joy when that has happened to a degree, when a story has taken on a bit of life by itself and it's surprised you a little bit how it's developed?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
When you suddenly think, oh my goodness, you think, that's clever.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I mean, kids are so smart.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just astonishing. And you put in things, you know, sometimes you put in things into books and you think, oh, they'll never get this. They always do.
Yeah.
They're so clever. Yeah. They pick up on everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but yes, I agree. It's just, it's joyful to watch them. And that's why there needs to be some, I think, more space for children to be creative.
Yeah.
To unleash their creativity, because if it's too, of course they have to learn the skills.
Yeah.
They have to learn the skills like of writing and spelling and all of this kind of thing. But there does need to be space for them to write and read for the joy of it, because that's what creativity is. I had a lovely teacher in year 3 who I had very messy handwriting, known as Messy Cressy, and and I struggled with spelling and so I just didn't realise that I was going to be a writer. Yeah. And it's very easy for children to think that it's all about handwriting and spelling. Yeah. But this lovely year 3 teacher gave me a notebook where the spelling and the handwriting didn't matter and where she didn't mark it. Yeah. And in that book, I'm drawing sprites. Yeah. Which
then, yeah.
And other ones, I'm drawing dragons. Yeah. You know, later became the dragon books and films, and but it all started with the lovely in year 3 and the notebooks and the scribble that I was drawing then.
Yeah.
So
listen,
important. I think we don't realise how easily kids can be put off, particularly if they're dyslexic or they take so much in unconsciously, and if it's all about comparing themselves to other people, and you know, little Joey seems to be reading more, and you know, little Ella has better handwriting, so easily the kid looking at that thinks, well, there, you know, I'm not as good, and then they lose their own spark,
right?
And that can happen really young, I think.
Which has got to be avoided. And listen, on the drawings front, I meant to ask you when we were talking about it a moment ago. You said that you got very emotional when you were doing your final drawings for the final of the Wizard of Wands book. And do you do the drawing kind of after you've written the text? It almost sounded like that was your sort of final part of work. Or do you draw as you go? Do you put sketches in and then think, well, I'm going to do this illustration here, but then sort of come back and finesse it later? How does that work?
If I'm drawing a new character, actually, look, I've got all my drawings here, so I can even show you.
Brilliant.
If I'm drawing a new character, if I'm drawing a new location, so this is the Mines of Happiness, not very happy.
Right, no.
So I will begin to draw pictures of the location of the mine.
Yeah.
Before I'm actually writing about it.
Right.
So that I can get a sense. It's a bit like, I suppose, like a stage set.
Yeah.
If you were doing a film or something, you'd take location shots.
Yeah.
So this will all take place at the beginning when I'm beginning to construct the story. I'm drawing location shots.
Yeah.
If I have a new character, like this guy, I might draw a kind of, he's a greater giant.
Yeah.
A greater giant. I'll draw the new character. So I'll do, so I'm character design, location design. I will draw before I start writing.
Right.
Of the writing. And
so that's been happening for this book, for the book coming, for volume 4. That has been happening during lockdown, right? I hadn't realised. I imagined it was all kind of almost ready to go to press already before that. So that's great.
Yes, that would be good, Nick.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes from our side, we hear about the lengthy processes of publishing. So I'd kind of hoped, for your sake, that it was all sort of ready and.
I mean, it is later than normal because I broke the rib. And
yes.
So
right. Fine. Yeah. Fine.
The problem is 1 year.
Yeah.
For me is not a very, because I'm always on this rolling 1 year.
Yeah.
Nick. And so actually I find it quite tricky to write and research and illustrate and
be the children's laureate.
I mean, that one too.
Yeah.
At the same time, because there's so much to do. You need your children something wonderful. It has to be wonderful, and so that does require research and making it, stunning, and the illustration. So I don't want to. It has to be quality.
I had one last thing I wanted to ask you about, which was about reading. What have you been reading in the last 6 months or so? Have you had any time to read other things in amongst all this work? Yeah.
Yes. I'm just beginning to start this is what I'm about to read, is The Golden Rule, Amanda Craig.
Yeah.
Now what's my at the moment I'm reading Dickens and The Own Mystery of Dickens. Yes, by anyone. That's great. At the same time as reading Our Mutual Friend, rereading.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I have lots on the go. I'm trying to think. Beatles, the 1, 2, 3, 4. That was a fabulous one. I'm back to. I've just got Girl, Woman, Other.
Yes.
What else am I reading? Oh gosh, goodness. I've read so much in lockdown. This wonderful tree one.
Overstory.
Yes.
Yeah, Overstory. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Which I hadn't really heard much about, actually, before I came across it, because I'm very interested in trees.
Yeah.
Beautifully written. Oh.
Yeah, it is brilliant. Super. Listen, thank you for spending some time chatting this morning. And
good fun. What pleasure.
All right, brilliant. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic rest of day.
And you too.
Thanks, Cressida. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Please note, no book people were harmed in the making of this film, though some were technologically challenged. All books are available from www.bookshop.co.uk.